About the biggest stories that matter to you the most. Breaking news, John Calipari is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the Arkansas Razorbacks' next head coach, covering college sports like no one else. The biggest guests in sports. We now welcome in Hall of Famer Jim Calhoun.
Such a pride I had, I came to connect.
The legend, Tim Tebow, joins us.
We'll run it back. I like it.
The legend, Herschel Walker. Welcome in, everybody. Tuesday morning edition, Darryn Torres Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Darryn Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a great day. If you're watching live on YouTube, we had a little bit of a crash out, so we're trying this again. Welcome to the modern world of technology, baby. But you know what never lets us down? Kansas on Big Monday. We're going to react to Kansas's win over Houston, what it means, Darryn Peterson, all that good stuff. We will talk a little bit about Hubert Davis in North Carolina picking up a nice win over Louisville on Monday as well. Indiana hires a GM. The conversation won't really be about the GM himself, but really, what does a GM even do in college basketball, and why is the role so important in 2026? And then we will wrap with an interview, very fun interview. Travis Steele, the head coach of the Miami of Ohio Redhawks, the last undefeated team in college basketball. They play on Tuesday night at Eastern Michigan. Really fun sit down with Coach Steele as Miami is looking to finish the regular season undefeated. Before we get started, a couple quick reminders. Make sure you're subscribed. Darryn Torres Pod YouTube channel. New clips, new videos going up every single day. We have surpassed 70,000 subscribers, and we really do appreciate your support. We're going to get to 80,000, I believe, before the end of March Madness. So make sure you're subscribed. If you know anyone who loves college hoops, have them subscribe to the channel as well. We're rocking. We're rolling. We're not slowing down anytime soon. And oh, by the way, portal season is our season. We will be rocking and rolling there as well. Speaking of rocking and rolling, if you need a place to watch games on the East Coast, there is no better spot than the brand new Circa Sportsbook at Mint Kentucky Downs in Franklin, Kentucky. Okay, so I've told you all about Circa Sportsbook. When I'm in Vegas, the best place to watch games, there is no doubt, is the fact that you got to get to Circa in Vegas. What I also know, a lot of you can't get to Vegas. And so what I always say is if you're on the East Coast, if you need a place to watch games, check out the brand new Circa Sportsbook. You can see it on the screen right now, Mint Kentucky Downs in Franklin, Kentucky. Okay, this place is about 39 minutes from Nashville. I did the drive when I was on the East Coast a few weeks ago, about 20 minutes or so from Bowling Green, Kentucky. And it's that time of year. If you need places to watch games, to watch college basketball, just get out of the house. Maybe you want some place to watch all the big games during March Madness. Make sure to check out the brand new Circa Sportsbook at the Mint Kentucky Downs in Franklin, Kentucky. I will note, by the way, I and producer Matt and I are headed to the Mint during the week of the SEC tournament. We'll have some details. It'll be in the lead up to the SEC tournament, probably Monday and Tuesday. So we'll get you details as soon as we have them. We don't know if we'll be doing live shows, an event, Q&A. We'll figure it out. But you got to get down to see us. Brand new sports book, Mint Kentucky Downs in beautiful Franklin, Kentucky. With that said, it is a busy Tuesday in the world of sports. We had some technical difficulties early. There is no more time to waste. So let's do it. Let's get to the topic of the day. Topic of the day. You don't need me to tell you because, frankly, it's not just the topic of the day. I think the topic of college basketball probably over the last 2 or 3 weeks has been the Kansas Jayhawks and the ebbs and flows that have come with the season. There have certainly been plenty of highs. You beat the number one team in the country, but there have been lows as well. The Darryn Peterson drama, I thought, took another turn over the last couple days. It's one thing for guys like me who love college basketball to be talking about this and whatever. When Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins are talking about it on First Take, you know it is a big deal. And I do think it is worth noting. You know, it felt like on Saturday at home against Cincinnati, it was the moment in time where everybody really, it felt like the energy was just down across the board. The entire team, Bill Self, you lose to Cincinnati. Worst loss in Fog Allen to an unranked team in the history of the building. There's only one way to bounce back. You got to get a big Monday game in Fog Allen Fieldhouse because Bill Self was 40-0 on big Monday games at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. He is now 41-0 because Kansas, largely in a game that frankly wasn't that competitive, gets the victory. Final score 69-56. And in addition to Bill Self improving to 41-0, I got to say, I saw this stat and it blew me away. Bill Self has been at Kansas for 23 years. Remember, by the way, Houston in year one in the Big 12 won at Fog Allen. It was not on a big Monday. It was actually on a Saturday evening. But Kelvin Sampson was trying to get a second win at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. It does not happen. Bill Self now in 23 years has not lost to the same team twice or the same coach twice in Fog Allen Fieldhouse. So all the great coaches he's faced, Rick Barnes at Texas, Lon Kruger at Oklahoma, Kelvin Sampson for a few years there at Oklahoma. Iowa State's had great teams. Arizona's in the league now. Houston is in the league now. Nobody has beaten Bill Self twice in Allen Fieldhouse as the head coach of a Big 12 team, or any team for that matter, as Kansas gets the 69-56 win. So bigger picture, I thought what was interesting about this game was a few things. Is that one, listen, the Darryn Peterson noise we've talked about and we've re-talked about and whatever. This game was really about everybody, frankly, other than Darryn Peterson. And it's not that Darryn Peterson was bad, but I do think what was interesting was this. On Monday, ESPN dropped the long-form story. It was written by Myron Metcalf. You know, Darryn Peterson had a few quotes for it. It wasn't like an in-depth interview. But I thought what was interesting was Bill Self even acknowledged in that story. So take out my opinion. Bill Self acknowledged, like, I'm still trying to figure out how to coach this team because I've essentially had a different team every single game, and we know why. We don't have to talk about it. And so I bring it up because I thought early in the game, you could see that everybody was trying to figure out everybody else. Darryn Peterson and his teammates and him, his teammates with him on the floor, his teammates without him on the floor. He comes out, the team makes a run, he comes back in, they play even better, he gets the bucket before the half, and then once you get to halftime, they just absolutely cruise to victory. They outscored Houston by 9 in the second half. It was not close. As a matter of fact, I think you can argue the 13 points was about what it was most of the second half. Houston had to get a bucket or two to even make it that competitive. Big picture, like I said, a couple things. One, this one, in a positive way, wasn't even necessarily about Darryn Peterson. Thought other guys stepped up. Trey White played what was by far his best game as a Kansas Jayhawk. 23 points. He is a senior. This is his first year at Kansas after transferring from Illinois. It was a Kansas career high for Trey White. And the other guy that just deserves so much credit is Melvin Council. You know, they say in life there are people that give energy and take energy. If you look up energy giver in the dictionary, I think it's probably Melvin Council. You know, he only, quote unquote, had 11 points. But like I said, it felt like in that first half when things were kind of slow, when you were kind of nervous, how does this team looking? What's the concern? What's the positive? What's the negative? It was Melvin Council, as much as anybody, that really put the team on his back. Again, only finished with 11 points, but he plays with so much energy, so much excitement, so much joy. And I think, again, even though the stats weren't great, what he does, he puts so much pressure on the defense. He gets the ball, goes, attacks the rim, you get offensive rebounds. He was great. Trey White was great. Darryn Peterson, to his credit, had 14 points, but he wasn't the story, and I think that's a good thing. Bigger picture, let's talk about all of it, what it means, what it doesn't mean, because Kansas does get another very nice win at home. By the way, shout out to Kansas season ticket holders, because you got at home this year UConn, BYU, Iowa State, Houston. Who else am I missing? Oh, number 1, Arizona. Last real super marquee game of the year at Fog Allen. And what I would say about it is this, is I thought there was a cool moment at the end of the game with all of the players on the court. And Matt, you could pop up the tweet just to show it. It was Trey White was the star of the game. Oh no, we don't have the picture. The picture was what I wanted. It's okay. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. I should have been more clear. You could drop it. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the game, basically Trey White goes to the TV interview and the whole team surrounds Trey White. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a moment. And you know who was front and center? It was Darryn Peterson. I know I've talked about him a lot. I know he wasn't the X factor, but I did think it was a very cool moment. By the way, as I always say, we can't play the actual interview, unfortunately, because of the fact that it was on the TV broadcast. It's copyrighted. We get in trouble, blah, 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 blah. But it was just a very cool moment. Let's just try to finish this. Because in that moment, as we have technical issues, again, we'll have to figure this out at some point. It was a very cool moment because in that moment, Darryn Peterson was just one of the guys. It was the first time I really remember him really smiling, just being one of the dudes, having fun, whatever. And I thought it was a cool moment. I also thought it was cool after the game. I give Darryn Peterson credit, and I give Bill Self, and I give Kansas credit because Darryn Peterson did go to the podium and did talk to the media. Now, I listened to the whole thing start to finish. He really didn't say much, but he was asked about everything that has gone on this season, everything going on in his world. Very short clip here because he really didn't say much, but Matt, you can go ahead and play the clip of Darryn Peterson at the press conference after the game.
Somebody's had something to say probably after every game this year, so I don't really pay attention to it anymore. I don't know, I've kind of been a antisocial loner my whole life, so I kind of just deal with it on my own.
That was Darryn Peterson after the game. Hopefully you guys heard it because I could not. Listen, he didn't say very much, but you can tell just by his answers. You could tell this has been weighing on him. It's been weighing on Kansas. And so, like I said a second ago, I thought it was very cool that he had this moment as a Kansas Jayhawk. Listen, whatever has gone on, it is clear that what has happened, becoming a national story, I don't think was the intention when he showed up at Kansas. I go back to what I was saying in November and December about this situation with Darryn Peterson, and I remember what I was saying back then. I said, look, if you think that he came to Kansas, went through summer workouts just to opt out of half of the season, you're out of your mind. It clearly hasn't gone to plan. Now, I have been critical specifically because I felt like, listen, you don't owe it to me. You don't even owe it to Kansas fans to speak. But I did say I do think that he is only hurting himself by choosing not to tell his side of the story. And so when I get frustrated, when I get mad, when I get whatever, it is because of the fact that I just feel like he is doing himself a disservice. By not doing interviews, by not telling his side of the story. It's not my story to tell. It's not his story to tell. But what ends up happening is when you let everyone else tell your story, guess what ends up happening? It might not get told the way that you want it. And so I have been critical, but I did think Monday night was cool. And I do think, by the way, and Matt, you can actually pop up the original tweet without the picture. It's okay. Because what I said is, I said, I know that I've been critical. I know people think it's not that I don't like Darryn Peterson, but I have to call a spade a spade. And when somebody isn't doing what is expected of them and giving us no facts, no information, we're all going to speculate. So what I said on Twitter was, and you can follow me at Aaron_Torres, is, listen, people think I've been hard on Darryn Peterson. Maybe I have been. But hopefully tonight is the start of us simply talking about his insane talent and how it fits with the rest of a great team. Matt, you can pop up the picture now if you do have it. That is the picture. Look at that kid, man. He's happy. He's smiling. He's happy for Trey White. He's happy for his teammates. And I am happy that he is getting this moment at Kansas. And again, when I have been critical of Darryn Peterson, it's not because I don't like the kid. It's not because I'm rooting against him. It's not because I want Cam Boozer to be the first pick in the draft. I have no vested interest. I do not care. What has frustrated me, and I know it's frustrated Kansas fans, is we can't get a straight answer to what's going on. So one, I do think this week has been a net positive for Kansas. It feels like finally the camp is realizing that they have to speak, and if they don't, people like Stephen A. Smith, people like Kendrick Perkins, people like myself, people like anyone with a platform are going to speculate on what is going on. Darryn Peterson had a few quotes for Myron Metcalf. He did post-game availability. I just saw before we went on air, Darryn Peterson's dad did an interview with Isaac Trotter of CBS. and I haven't had a chance to read it yet, so I don't want to speculate too much, but I think they finally figured out we got to do this. Bigger picture to me, what I saw on Monday night was a team that is still figuring itself out, with a top 2, top 3, maybe the number 1 overall pick on its roster. And again, Bill Self in that Myron Metcalf interview acknowledged, I'm still figuring out how to coach this team because I haven't had a full team all year. But what I saw is all of the pieces to make a run. Melvin Council is a dog. Flory Badunga might be, in my opinion, the most improved player in college basketball. I know Fran Fraschilla said on the broadcast he thinks Flory Badunga is going to be the defensive player of the year in the Big 12, monster lob threat. And we've seen time and time again that Darryn Peterson can take over games. So we'll see what happens going forward. We'll see what happens. By the way, obviously, Trey White is very good. Our buddy Bryson Tiller, who we had on the show a few weeks ago, is really good. But to me, what I saw on the court on Monday night was a team that with all those pieces, they can do anything they want. They can win the Big 12. They can win a national championship. It is on their plate. And like I said, I do hope that Monday night is the end of guys like me yelling and screaming about Darryn Peterson and trying to figure it out. And we can simply focus on the task at hand and focus on the team, because darn it, is it a fun team to watch when they're full speed ahead. Very quickly, we're just going to spend half a second on Houston. I know it's Houston's 3rd straight loss. I know it is their first 3-game losing streak since 2017, which was really when Kelvin Sampson got this thing rolling. I don't have some crazy takeaway. Sampson after the game, remember, their 3 losses. We're having all sorts of technical difficulties here. Their 3 losses, by the way, were at home to Arizona, on the road to Iowa State, and Kansas on the road as well. And so I just bring it up because this notion that I'm supposed to freak out about Houston losing to 3 top 10 teams, 2 on the road, I just won't do it. I'm just not going to do it. And I just bring it up solely to say that I think they're going to be okay. What I was going to say was Kelvin Sampson had some quote about, yeah, why did we lose? Because we played Oklahoma City one night, then we played the San Antonio Spurs, then we played the Boston Celtics. And I don't know if I had the teams right, but you get the point. I'm not worried. I do think bigger picture, it just shows you how good the Big 12 is. I've told this story before, but you talk to coaches in this league and you say, hey, you finished 9-9 in the league. Like, how do you feel about your team? I feel great because there's so many good teams and there's so many tough venues. So I'm not worried about Houston. I'm not worried about Kelvin Sampson. What I am worried about is some of the technology here. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. When we do, the plan is to talk North Carolina and Louisville. We'll take a quick break. We'll get to some of your comments, get to the other big game on Monday. Be right back. All right, we're going to get back to the show in a minute. But before we do, you know what we got to do. We got to thank our friends. We got to thank our partners. We got to go ahead and thank Cauley Puffs and CauleyPuffs.com. Yeah, you see the logo on the back of the screen right here. Okay, so I've told you all about Cauley Puffs, but family-owned company, not far from where I live. Joey, a huge sports fan. And one day he was sitting on the couch and he said, you know what? I need a snack that is both healthy but delicious, something my kids are going to love, something my family's going to love, something I'm going to love. And so he came up with Cauley Puffs. This is the new age health food snack. You don't need to go to the grocery aisle and buy all that crap, the Doritos, the Fritos. No, my friends, you need Cauley Puffs. Baked, not fried, avocado oil, no grease, healthy ingredients. But here's the best part. They taste freaking delicious. Actually, there's another best part. In addition to tasting delicious, in addition to being healthy, they are also taking care of listeners of the Aaron Torres pod. Okay, so check this out. All you got to do is go to CauleyPuffs.com. That's CauleyPuffs.com, CauleyPuffs.com, and you can get 15% off any purchase with the promo code Torres. That's Torres, Torres. It's that simple. 15% off any purchase. 1 bag to try them out, 100 bags to cater a party. Doesn't really matter. Promo code Torres. CauleyPuffs.com gets you 15% off. Cauley Puffs also available on Amazon. You obviously can't get the promo code there, but CauleyPuffs.com, CauleyPuffs.com, promo code Torres gets you 15% off any purchase. Thank you to our friends at Cauley Puffs. All right, everybody. All right, back. Good to be back. So chat is a little bit quiet today. Lendl says, my dad went to Kansas. 2 grandparents went to K-State. Well, great win for Kansas on Monday night. Credit to Bill Self rallying the troops. By the way, Chuck is just out on Mark Pope. He says, Nate Oates to Kentucky. We'll save that conversation for another time. But let's switch gears. Before we do, though, you know what we got to do? We got to thank our friends. We got to thank our official ticketing partner of the Darryn Torres pod. We got to go ahead and thank SeatGeek. Okay, so SeatGeek is America's #1 ticketing app, over 28 million downloads. Okay, and what I love about SeatGeek is three things. They got tickets to everything. Every ticket on the app is rated 1 through 10 with a green dot or a red dot. But what I really love about SeatGeek is this: they take care of listeners of the Darryn Torres pod. If you go to SeatGeek.com or you use the SeatGeek app, if you use promo code Torres, it gets you $20 off your first purchase. So it could be any game, any show, any concert. Maybe you want to watch your team in one of its final home games. Maybe you want to go to a conference tournament, an NCAA tournament game. If you use SeatGeek.com, promo code Torres gets you $20 off your first purchase. And oh, by the way, doesn't just have to be sports. Could be concerts, could be shows, could be anything. If they have tickets on SeatGeek, you can use promo code Torres to get $20 off your first purchase. Thank you again to SeatGeek. Promo code Torres gets you $20 off your first purchase. Let's go ahead and switch gears. Let's get to the first big Monday game. And let's go ahead and just talk big picture about North Carolina versus Louisville. Two top 25 teams. And you know, again, I'll be totally transparent about how I felt coming into this game. It just felt like, okay, we were in a moment where North Carolina, they don't have Caleb Wilson. Louisville's a top 25 team. I thought Louisville was playing better. Well, they weren't playing better than North Carolina on Monday night. Now, it was a game where North Carolina had a big lead and proceeded to blow it, but it does not matter as North Carolina gets the win 77-74. They hold on for victory without Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson, by the way, on the sidelines, basically acting as a de facto head coach. And I got to tell you this. We're going to talk about this game specifically, but I got to give credit where it's due. I've been critical of Hubert Davis. I think this is Hubert Davis's best coaching job considering everything he has gone through this season. Let's start with Monday night. And Louisville's a good team. I know Louisville fans are down on Louisville, and we'll talk about them maybe to end this segment. But at the same time, what I would say about Louisville and North Carolina is this. I kind of thought, how is North Carolina going to handle maybe its toughest opponent? I know they just played NC State on the road last week, but their toughest home opponent without Caleb Wilson. Henry Visar's back, but he's clearly not 100%. And what I see is a resilient team where guys are stepping up. If you watch the game on Monday night, you already know Seth Trimble, 30 points, a career high, fourth-year senior, one of the few guys in college basketball you could say has stayed at one school for 4 years, has been at Carolina. He's got a couple home games left, but he had his moment. And we talk about all the great stories in college basketball. This is one of the best ones. Remember that crazy, weird weight room injury to start the season. You didn't know when he was going to come back. You worry about this, you worry about that. He comes back. He has 30 points. And I thought other guys stepped up as well. You can see on the screen there, Luka Bogovic, obviously the high-profile European import. He finished with 12 points, was kind of solid throughout the game. Henry Visar still isn't 100% transfer from Arizona, but he played well with 12 points. And I'll say this. I thought Jaron Stevenson, I know he only had 9 points, but really did feel like he gave them a spark specifically in the second half. A couple big three-pointers made. Like I said, it wasn't pretty late. North Carolina had a lead, kind of blew it, whatever, but they do hold on for the win. Bigger picture, let me say this. I said it a second ago, and I do think that what I said, I stand by. I think this is Hubert Davis's best coaching job. Okay, and bigger picture, because I know some North Carolina fans think I don't like him. By the way, it was funny because I had Duke fans on social media. Oh, you're a North Carolina defender. You love North Carolina. I'm like, really? Is that what you guys are saying about me now? I guess it was because I said that John Shire was lying about his assistant coaches getting punched. Anyway, I bring it up because I have been critical of Hubert Davis, and I have been critical of North Carolina, and it's nothing personal, and I want him to succeed, but I will say here what I always say about that job, that school, that university. It is one of the best jobs, if not the best job in college basketball. And so I have high standards. And the last couple years have been rocky. There is no way to say otherwise. They missed the tournament 3 seasons ago. Last year, transparently, everybody, well, whether I think they should have been in or not, they were in the first 4 where North Carolina should never be. And oh, by the way, most people thought that if the AD Bubba Cunningham wasn't on the selection committee, they would not have even made it to Dayton. So it's been up and down. And the only reason I'm critical is because I have a high standard for this school. I want them to compete for national championships. I want them to be at their best because I want all these teams to be at their best. I want Kentucky to be great. I want Louisville to be great. I'm a UConn guy. Heck, I want Syracuse to be great. That was the biggest rival that I had growing up when I was a kid, and I hate seeing them lousy. And so it's nothing personal. It's never been personal. But I also got to take some L's here because in the spring, I said I didn't really see the vision with the roster. To the credit of Carolina fans, they said, you know what, just be patient. We trust Hubert Davis and that staff to figure it out. And then I'll also say this. I kind of gave up on them after the West Coast road trip to to California, I should say. If you remember, early to mid-January, and by the way, remember, they played a good out of conference, but I wouldn't call it a great out of conference. They beat Kansas, obviously. Darryn Peterson played in that game, so whatever. But they beat Kansas at home. They beat Kentucky on the road. But they go into ACC play, and very early on, they take a West Coast road trip to Cal and to Stanford. They lost both games. And I went off, and I had some segment about, Hubert Davis once again in the moment isn't the right guy. And I think a lot of the byproduct of that was just looking at the fact that at the time, North Carolina was 14-4, but they were 2-3 in the ACC. And I looked at the rest of the schedule and I said, look, they still got 2 games against Duke. They still got Louisville at home when Louisville we thought was maybe a little bit better than they are right now. They still have to go to Miami. They still have Clemson. They still have Virginia Tech. They still have at NC State. This was after the California road trip. And I said, they're trending towards the kind of season that they couldn't have if Hubert Davis wanted to keep his job. So I was very critical in that moment. And then, oh, by the way, they finally start playing well. What ends up happening? Caleb Wilson goes out with injury. And so we did a separate segment at that point where I said, what is realistic for this program with Caleb Wilson out? There were 7 games left in the regular season. You sat there and said, could they go 3-4? Would they go 2-5? What happens here? What happens there? And in my defense, I never said like they're not making the tournament, but I said, this is a crippling injury. This is terrible. What are you going to do? And so when I say this is Hubert Davis's best coaching job, it absolutely is. And he absolutely deserves credit because there's been 3 different instances where this program could have completely fallen apart this season, and they basically haven't. The Seth Trimble injury early, which we talked about, didn't have their best perimeter player for what? North Carolina fans, you know better than me. What was it, about 5 weeks they didn't have their best perimeter player? Then they lose those 2 games in California. Tough schedule ahead. They're 8-2 since they got back from California. 8-2 overall. The 2 losses were 1, the game in which Caleb Wilson not only got hurt, but it was a road game against a Miami team that is currently tied for 3rd place in the ACC. Caleb Wilson gets hurt, and it's also after the emotional win against Duke. And so that one's kind of justifiable. You don't want to lose to NC State. I understand that, but no Caleb Wilson in that game. And so why I think it's Hubert Davis's best coaching job is because you lose Seth Trimble early, then you lose the 2 games in California. The program could have folded at that point. Instead, they're 8-2 since that moment, and they're 3-1 without Caleb Wilson. Now, it'll be interesting, by the way. I think on the broadcast, I didn't hear this, but I saw Adam Zagoria tweeting about it. He said that Caleb Wilson wants to be back for the Duke game. I don't know if he will be, but what I will say is that this is Hubert Davis's best coaching job as the North Carolina head coach. Okay, Matt, you could pop up the tweet if you have it. I don't even remember what I said, so it's just whatever. But here is what I said about Hubert Davis. Early January, North Carolina lost a pair of games on the West Coast. Many, including me, gave up on them. With their win over Louisville, they've now won 8-10 and are 3-1 without Caleb Wilson. Credit Hubert Davis. He's rallied the team and done a hell of a job without his star. So that's what I said, and that's how I feel, is that there have been so many different moments where this program could have gone the wrong direction. He has kept them on track. He deserves credit. I think the players deserve credit as well, and that's not to take away from Hubert Davis, but other guys are stepping up in their absences. And I think all this means is that when Caleb Wilson comes back, because all indications are he plans on finding a way back onto the court, I think this is going to be a stronger team. Luka Bogovic is more confident. Jaron Stevenson is more confident. They've done it at times without Henry Visar the last few weeks. Seth Trimble is clearly more confident. So let's credit that man right there, Hubert Davis. I think it's the best coaching stretch of his career. I know North Carolina isn't the place you want to learn on the job, and I have certainly been critical at times, but I think we also have to acknowledge that he has done an unbelievable job this year. As I said, 8-2 since that California road trip, 3-1 without Caleb Wilson. And, that was one of the big ones against Louisville on Monday night of, can you survive that one? They still have some tough ones ahead. Virginia Tech on the bubble. They play them on Saturday night. And then on top of that, you have Clemson next week, and then you end the regular season at Duke. Like I said, I saw people tweeting that the goal or Caleb Wilson's goal is to be back for the second Duke game. I'll believe it when I see it, but it remains an unbelievable story. Really quickly, from the Louisville perspective, I know people are down on Louisville, and I sort of get it because last year the ACC was really down. Pat Kelsey comes in. They absolutely dominate. I get all of that. This year the ACC is tougher, and Louisville really hasn't matched it. They're sitting right now at 20-8 overall, 9-6, and they have some very nice wins. Cincinnati on a neutral, Kentucky at home, SMU, who I think is better than people realize. They split with them. North Carolina State, NC State on a big Monday a few weeks ago. But I also do think that Louisville fans are frustrated because in those really high-profile games, they have struggled. They did lose. This is Louisville now. They did lose to Duke twice this season. They did lose at Arkansas. They did lose at Tennessee. They did lose to North Carolina on Monday night. And so, listen, I'm not here to criticize Pat Kelsey because I remember what this program was 2 or 3 years ago. I also understand Louisville fans being like, we expect more from this team than what we've gotten in big games. It's fun to beat Boston College and Wake Forest, but can you give us a win against North Carolina? Can you give us a win against Duke? I think the stat is now what? Louisville is 0-4 against Duke since Kelsey got there. I'm not ready to go there yet. I think this program is trending in the right direction. I will say, one, at some point, if you want to be an elite program, you have to beat those truly elite teams. I don't mean to get too dark, but I saw on social media, it's like, who's been more disappointing this year, Louisville or Kentucky? One thing you can say about Mark Pope is that start of last year, he did have those big wins. Duke, he beat Florida last year before they won the national championship when he had a healthy team. So it's, Louisville fans are frustrated. I don't ever tell other fans how to feel. I just feel like, me personally, I would just say, 2 years ago, we were maybe the worst team in power conference basketball. Pat Kelsey has gotten us to a certain level. Now it's on him to prove that he can get you to that next level. And like I said, you do have some good wins this season, but against the great teams, Arkansas on the road, Tennessee on the road, 2 games against Duke, 1 game against North Carolina, it simply hasn't been good enough. Matt, I need a quick reset. Let's take a quick break. I want to talk Indiana basketball GM in half a second. Indiana hires a GM. I don't really want to talk about the GM himself, but what is the role of a GM in modern college basketball? Then, really fun interview. Travis Steele, head coach, Miami of Ohio Redhawks, last undefeated team in college basketball. Quick break. Indiana GM. Be right back. All right, we're going to get back to the show in a minute, but before we do, I have so many people that reach out and say, Torres, you give me hours and hours and hours of free content every day, every month, every year. What can I do to help support the show? Well, you want to support the show and look good in the process. Make sure to check out and support the Aaron Torres Media merch store at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. Some of you wondering, what can I get in that merch store, Torres? Well, Kentucky fans, we got our Mark Pope Hope and Pope t-shirts. That is right. Mark Pope, monster first year. Year 2 is going to be even better. Get your Hope and Pope t-shirt at AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. Arkansas fans, the Big Pig Invasion is coming. It is here. John Calipari has things rocking. Get your Big Pig Invasion tees. Again, AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. St. John's fans, we have our Big Rick Energy t-shirts. And if you're just a college basketball fan in general, guess what? Your March is for Day Drinking shirt. That is the shirt that you need year-round, but especially for the next NCAA tournament. You can order yours now. By the way, football fans, we got you covered too. Nebraska fans, new era, new rules, the t-shirt that you need before the start of this coming season. And oh, by the way, if you're a Colorado fan, if you're just a Coach Prime fan, we have our Dion shirts and hats, more of them than we know what to do with. So to check out the full line of Aaron Torres Media merch and also support the show, good news is we're going to have even more for the fall. Check out the Aaron Torres Media merch store at AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. And for more information, you can always reach out at Aaron Torres Podcast Questions at gmail.com. All right, everybody. I am back. Good to be back. Final segment, sort of the show. So good to be back. We will wrap in about 20 minutes from now. Travis Steele, the head coach of the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. So Miami, the last undefeated team in college basketball. They actually played tonight against Eastern Michigan. I thought it was a really fun interview with Travis Steele. He gives a lot of good insight on building a program in the mid-majors, what it takes, how to retain, how they've gotten undefeated, style of play, all that. So Travis Steele, about 15 minutes from now. Do want to wrap the show first on a couple things. First of all, a couple Carolina fans in the chat with some good commentary. Tellis says the NC State game was rough without Caleb Wilson and Henry Visar, but Hubert Davis deserves a lot of credit for how he has coached this season. Seth Trimble missed around 6 weeks with an injury, with the wrist injury, Tyson says the same thing. It was about 6 weeks for Seth Trimble, and he adds that Zayden High will give them some much-needed big man depth going into the ACC tournament and the NCAA tournament. And if you missed it just minutes ago, we talked about Hubert Davis, North Carolina, and I think this is the best coaching job of Hubert Davis's time at North Carolina. Let's go ahead and switch gears, and I want to wrap, kind of my portion of the show by talking about something that I think is a pretty important topic in the modern world of college basketball. And that is the GM position in the world of college basketball. And where we're going to talk is Indiana hired essentially a GM on Monday. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about who this guy is, what he does. But the bigger picture is every program in America either has a GM or needs a GM. And this is a big talking point in a lot of programs, specifically Kentucky. We know that Mark Pope has essentially, he basically whiffed on roster construction. He got like a D for roster construction this year. And so the big push at Kentucky is, can we get ourselves a GM? And I want to it's not necessarily a Kentucky segment. It's not necessarily an Indiana segment, but we'll use Indiana hiring a GM as the jumping off point. So let's start with Indiana. Year one of the Darren DeVries era, going into the second offseason. And clearly, good team, going to make the NCAA tournament. But really, if you watch them, outside of Lamar Wilkerson, maybe Tucker DeVries, who was obviously always coming with his dad, they don't really have those dudes, right? The dudes that change games that you're going to win Big Ten championships with. They just don't. It's not a disrespect. I think Indiana fans would acknowledge it. I think Indiana fans are still hungover from Kurt Cignetti in Miami doing their thing in college football a few weeks ago. Okay, anyway. Bring it up because I think the talent level has to increase to compete for Big Ten championships. And so on Monday, it was announced that Ryan Carr, a former Indiana Pacers, executive, has been named the GM of Indiana basketball. So he's not technically the GM, but Ryan Carr, he was the senior vice president of player personnel for the Indiana Pacers, has joined the Indiana coaching staff, okay? And so immediately it is clear what his role is going to be. And for people who don't know Ryan Carr's background, basically Ryan Carr is a guy who was a key part of basically not only the front office of the Indiana Pacers, but specifically the front office and really the draft process. I think I saw Jeff Goodman or somebody tweet out that he ran the draft operations, worked guys out, brought them in, was kind of the voice in the building. He didn't have final say necessarily, but he was the voice that everybody trusted. In that article that we put up the tweet for from the Indiana 24/7 affiliate, there were some quotes from Larry Bird, who, of course, for years was, a key cog in the Indiana Pacers organization. Of basically, he was the guy that I trusted. He's like, I know what I thought I saw, but I wanted to hear what Ryan had to see. And so I bring it up because he is hired by Indiana. Now, he's not technically hired in the quote unquote GM role. He's actually called, his title is the Executive Director of Basketball Operations. But I bring it up because he is essentially going to be a GM. And it feels like, with his background specifically, his role is going to be really in an evaluation spot. Who do we need to go after? Who do we need to bring in? How are they going to fit? All of that. And so it brings up the bigger picture of Indiana now essentially has a GM. They join the likes of North Carolina, hired a GM a year ago. UConn, Tom Moore was a longtime assistant who transitioned into GM in the last year. Duke, the original GM with Rachel Baker from Nike not a million years ago, it was like 2022. John Shire gets the job. They hire a GM. NC State, Andrew Slater is their GM. And so I bring it up because it's this hot topic. And really, like I said, I have so many of you ask, what does a GM do? What is their role? How important is it in 2026? So let's go ahead and talk about it. And I should mention, with Kentucky specifically, we did talk about the GM spot and a name that I think they should go after in our members only mailbag a few days ago. So as many of you know, we have a membership tier here on the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel, $4.99 a month. If you want to help support the show, we do members only mailbags as a thank you for people who support the show. Certainly would never tell anybody, beg. I understand money's tight, whatever. But if you do want to support the show, it goes right to us. It's for travel and it's for lodging and it's for a lot of the things that we do. But we do have a membership tier. And we did specifically talk about the Kentucky basketball GM spot. By the way, next person who signs up as a member will get a free box courtesy of our friends at Callie Puffs. Okay. But we talked about the Kentucky GM. But let's just talk about what the GM does specifically. What the GM does specifically, frankly, what's interesting about it is it really does change school to school, okay? So, the NBA, every GM basically has the same job. And I think that's where, for like college basketball fans, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around. In the NBA, we know what the GM does. The GM picks players. They draft players. They sign free agents. They're basically the people who put together the roster. The coaches coach, the GMs pick the players. It is not like that in college basketball. And as far as I know, I don't know of any hierarchy or structure where a school has a GM and the GM is picking the players, okay? Like Andrew Slater is the GM at NC State. Trust me, Will Wade has final say on who's coming into that program. And instead, what Andrew Slater's job is his job, in his case specifically, and I know Coach Wade pretty well. I actually know Andrew Slater pretty well. Andrew Slater's the guy behind the scenes that's gathering the information. Okay, this guy is definitely going to enter the portal. This guy's not going to enter the portal. This guy's probably going to enter the portal, but he's going to enter the NBA draft, and he hopes to stay in the NBA draft. This guy has this agent. This guy has a mom who wants the biggest NIL bag she can find. This guy only wants to play if he's going to be the star. This guy only cares about money. Like, that is what Andrew Slater's job is at NC State. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially it. You have other places. Jim Tanner is the GM at UNC. He has more of an NBA background. So I think his relationships are more with agents. And so, again, every job is a little bit different. And it sounds like, by the way, this guy at Indiana is going to be different as well. His background is in player personnel. His background is in, identifying talent and bringing it into a place. And so I don't think he's going to be the guy that's, pounding the pavement, trying to figure out who's the star from the SoCon and how do we get him. It's going to be more of, once that star in the SoCon gets in the portal, is he a good fit for us or not? He's probably not going to be handling contract negotiations. So again, every place is a little bit different. But big picture to me, What I would want if I was a GM is an intel, or if I was a head coach, is an intel guy. I'll coach the players. I'll identify them. It's your job to find out as much information. And really, it's not just about the players in the portal. I think the important thing is the players that will enter the portal at some point, right? Because to me, that is the important job of a GM is, again, background, research, homework, so that when the portal opens, you're prepared. You know, hey, I got a list of 50 guys already that I know are going into the portal. I know how much they want. I know the role that they're looking for. And I know the guys that are going to be a good fit for us and some of the guys that might not be. And to me, that's actually the perfect role of a GM. Who's entering the portal? How much are they asking for? Are they going to be a good fit? Is it only about NIL? Do we have the money? Is it only about NIL and this guy isn't a team player? You know, I'll give you an example. I know an agent. He was telling me like a month ago, he's like, yeah, my guy's entering the portal. Like, yeah, there's no doubt about it. So the GM's job is to be talking to that agent saying, okay, your star player is XYZ. How much does he want? What's the fit? You know, if he's from the East Coast, does he only want to stay on the East Coast? Will he go anywhere? Do the pair? That is what, in my opinion, the role of a GM is. And so I think it's interesting. I think it's important. It's an ever-evolving position, but this is where the world of college basketball is going to, okay? Everybody needs that guy behind the scenes because this stuff doesn't start when the portal opens in April. Like I said, I was talking to an agent a month ago. I'll tell you a story. I was talking to an agent probably in December. He said, did you see what my guy did the other day? I said, can I tweet out, you know, he may be a star in the portal, you know, whatever. He's like, yeah, of course. Everyone knows he's going in the portal. I mean, some of these agents, like, let me even backtrack because I'm all over the place here, but I think I'm giving good information. We got to remember now, a lot of these players are now committing to places knowing they're only going to be there a year or two and then enter the portal. What we're seeing a lot from the high school kids is they're saying, I'm not going to get 32 minutes in the SEC. So let me go to the A10, ball out, average 16 a game, and then I'll go to the SEC in year two. And so, again, that's the role of the GM, to always be accumulating information. And as you look at other schools, specifically Kentucky, that's looking for a GM, I think what's important is finding a guy with, or girl, with that kind of background. You know, I see Kentucky fans, and it's no disrespect. We should hire this guy with an NBA background. We should hire that guy with an NBA background. We should hire this former player who's in the NBA. I actually think it's the opposite. I think it should be somebody that has a grassroots background, that understands the grassroots scene, that understands the players in the grassroots world. And when I say players, I don't even mean the guys on the court. I mean the AAU people, the high school agents that might not be necessarily NBA agents. That I actually don't think it should be somebody largely with an NBA background. I think if you've been in the NBA for the last 20 years, it's going to be a little bit of a culture shock as to what college basketball is right now. And I'm not saying, by the way, the Indiana GM won't work out. I'm just saying that is what I would want. And so I hope that clarifies. I hope it explains. The best way that I would describe it is you want a guy who understands the grassroots world and just is constantly 365 days a year, just in and around the world of college basketball, trying to gather as much information as they can about the world of college basketball. All right. I think that's really it for this portion of the Darryn Torres pod. Really fun interview coming up. By the way, Kentucky Outdoors Life says, are we ever going to get the No Hope and Pope t-shirt? Yeah, you can tell Kentucky fans are a little bit on edge right now. By the way, I know Kentucky fans are on edge because I saw a tweet on Monday night that was like, we need to convince Kingston Flemings to go in the portal. I'm like, Kingston Flemings is going to be a top 5 pick. He ain't coming into the portal to go to Kentucky. But again, I do think there is something to the idea of having a guy in place that is finding this stuff out, finding out this information, because again, whether it's Mark Pope, whether it's Darren DeVree, whether it's Dan Hurley, whether it's whoever, you don't have time to be scouting the SoCon in your free time. You got to, this is what you need to hire a GM for. All right, that's it for this segment of the Darryn Torres pod. In mere minutes, we're going to be joined by Travis Steele, the head coach of the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. For people who have maybe followed this story, Miami is the last undefeated team in college basketball. This is the team out of the MAC, okay? They play tonight, Tuesday, to go 28-0 if they are to win the game. But they're an interesting team. They're an interesting conversation because they're undefeated. They have one of the worst strength of schedules, and part of it is because everybody knew the team was going to be good. Travis Steele tells me that they called every power conference school and nobody would schedule them. So what is it like at a mid-major to be undefeated, but you're still playing for your season every single year? Travis Steele will join us in just a few minutes. We will not be back after the Travis Steele interview. That'll wrap the show. So before we get out of here, make sure you're subscribed to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. I do apologize for the technical difficulties this morning. We will be back tomorrow, and we're going to get this all figured out. I'm so tired of it. It's on me 100%. But make sure you're subscribed. You can find us on Apple and Spotify as well. By the way, for those of you in the Nashville, Bowling Green area, Circa Sportsbook at Mint Kentucky Downs. Hopefully have some details by end of day today on our appearance there. We will be down there in the lead up to the SEC tournament. That's all for today's show. Thank you for your support. We'll be back Wednesday morning recapping a wild, wild day of college basketball. It's going to be a busy night tonight. Arizona plays, BYU plays, all that good stuff, but we're going to get out of here. Time for us to go. Time for me to go, but we will welcome in head coach Travis Steele of the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. Time to run. Shout out to Torrent Craig, Rachel, who hates my voice, JJ Reddick, UF head. Unblock me. We'll be back in just a minute with Miami of Ohio head coach Travis Steele. All right, we're going to get back to the show in a minute, but before we do, you know what we got to do. We got to thank our friends. We got to thank our partners. We got to go ahead and thank Cauley Puffs and CauleyPuffs.com. Yeah, you see the logo on the back of the screen right here. Okay, so I've told you all about Cauley Puffs, but family-owned company, not far from where I live. Joey, a huge sports fan. And one day he was sitting on the couch and he said, you know what? I need a snack that is both healthy but delicious, something my kids are going to love, something my family's going to love, something I'm going to love. And so he came up with Cauley Puffs. This is the new age health food snack. You don't need to go to the grocery aisle and buy all that crap, the Doritos, the Fritos. No, my friends, you need Cauley Puffs. Baked, not fried, avocado oil, no grease, healthy ingredients. But here's the best part. They taste freaking delicious. Actually, there's another best part. In addition to tasting delicious, in addition to being healthy, they are also taking care of listeners of the Aaron Torres pod. Okay, so check this out. All you got to do is go to CauleyPuffs.com. That's CauleyPuffs.com, CauleyPuffs.com, and you can get 15% off any purchase with the promo code Torres. That's Torres, Torres. It's that simple. 15% off any purchase. One bag to try them out, 100 bags to cater a party. Doesn't really matter. Promo code Torres. CauleyPuffs.com gets you 15% off. Cauley Puffs also available on Amazon. You obviously can't get the promo code there, but CauleyPuffs.com, CauleyPuffs.com, promo code Torres gets you 15% off any purchase. Thank you to our friends at Cauley Puffs. All right, joining me via Zoom, head coach, 21st ranked team in the country as of Monday, Travis Steele, Miami of Ohio. I believe I read highest ranking for Miami of Ohio since 1978. I think that was from your guys' official Twitter account. One, unbelievable story. But two, how much fun are you having this year, man? I have to imagine not only winning, but doing it with the guys. It just feels like it's a fun time to be a Red Hawk.
Yeah, obviously everybody sees the results, and that's been great. Listen, we play to win, but the journey is even more fun, right? Just whether we're lifting weights, bus trips, hotels, man, we have a lot of fun together. Our group is super, super connected, and our relationships are very, very deep. And our guys have enjoyed it, man. Again, we've been playing in front of a lot of sold-out crowds, whether it's here at Millett Hall, here at Miami, or on the road, taking the show on the road. And it's been a super fun ride just because of the people I get to do this with.
Let me ask you this. I know it's a question you've been asked, probably 150 times in the last 2 weeks, but you mentioned the guys you get to do it with. Everybody's bought in, and it is a cliche, but in this world, you were essentially able to retain virtually all, maybe not every single player, but virtually all of your roster year over year, which is just so rare in this world. We know where the sport is. We know where things are, whatever. What is there a secret sauce? How did you guys manage to do it? Because it's just not something that we get to see very often. And you guys are seeing, you guys are an example of basically what a group looks like when they stay together year over year, grow together, all of that.
Yeah, I think it's just an overall experience, Aaron. It's do they enjoy going to that school? Which Miami's like Disney World, man. There's not a bad day here. I mean, it's incredible. It's an incredible place to be. For even not people that don't play sports or not a student at this place is unbelievable. I mean, there's just got incredible energy and buzz to it. It's elite academics. And I think our development's important. Aaron, our guys getting better. Are the coaches pouring into you individually as a player, person, student? Development's real, and winning matters. And I think it really matters. And then it's like, what is your culture, right? Like I think fit's more important than ever in today's landscape. And I think we have a lot of guys that fit me and that fit our university and our men's basketball program. So the relationships they have and the connectivity that they have is very real and very powerful. And I think those things have kept our guys here, which gives us a chance, like you said, be a really good team because retention's at a premium. In a landscape where you got guys kind of bouncing, going different schools and, maybe 4 schools in 4 years, or you have to recruit a whole new team. We only had to bring in 1 young man out of the transfer portal.
Crazy.
We recruit a lot of high school.
Sure.
We have 5 freshmen on our roster, and we play 4 of them. So we're one of the younger teams in our league, but we do have a lot of retention at the same time. So that's been a huge key to our success here.
So real quick, you just said Miami of Ohio, the school is like Disneyland. Give me the pitch on the school because I've never been. Now I feel like I got to get there, not just for a game, but sounds like a cool place to hang out.
Yeah, it's a little less than 20,000 student body. Sure. So it's big, but it's small too. It's manageable. When I pull in on campus early in the mornings at 6 a.m., man, they have all the maintenance crews are all working on the lawn. Everything's immaculate. All the buildings are brick. It has that Ivy type feel to it.
Sure.
And it's just got incredible buzz. People are everywhere. Students are everywhere, dude. It is awesome. The town of Oxford itself is incredible. Great restaurants, like hole in the wall, not chain restaurants. Like it's a really unique place, man. It's where, like when I visualize college, this is the exact setting that I think of.
That's awesome, man. Let me ask you this. You talked about bringing in guys in high school and culture and all that. I was reading in it, you've done a few interviews here the last few weeks. When you interviewed for this job, you're coming from Xavier, you said basically, and I'm paraphrasing, so correct me if I just don't have the story wrong or whatever, but basically you wanted to make sure that basically the school was all in 100% with your vision, and that's no disrespect to anybody else that was interviewed or whatever, but it was basically like, I need to know that I'm going to be able to do things, quote unquote, 100% my way, or it's just not going to work. And it doesn't mean this is a bad job, whatever. So 1, I would ask if that's true. And then 2, like, what were you looking for in this job when you interviewed? Because it sounds like, again, from third-hand stories, and this is why I'm asking you, that you were looking for some very specific things after the Xavier experience.
Yeah, I would say, I had the conversation with David Saylor, our athletic director, and I just said, hey, listen, you're going to have to be patient. It's probably going to take until year 3 to see significant growth. Because I wanted to build it. It's like a house. You want to build it slow. You want to get the foundation right. But then everybody gets real excited when they see the framing of the house go up. It's like, oh man, there's the house. Well, shoot, we've been building for 2 years. We had a really good year last year, won 25 games. And it's like, but we were working those first 2 years that allowed us to have that year. And then this year as well. And so I told him, you got to be patient with me. We're going to do it the long way. That I think will be more sustainable. Get a culture established, recruit a lot of high school, develop those guys. I hired a staff in a very specific manner that I felt like could fit that model where they make players better. They invest in guys. The things that I was looking for that, like as far as for Miami specific was, listen, I looked at it. I thought Miami had a ton of upside. It has a proud tradition. all-time winningest program in the MAC, but had not won in a long, long, long time, if I'm being honest. And I looked at it as, man, I get to do this my way and build it from scratch, which I thought was pretty cool. And I thought that in the MAC conference, Miami's different than every other school. There's a lot of parity in our league. There's a lot of great coaches and great players, but Miami's different from an academic standpoint, and in my opinion, from a campus standpoint. So I was like, man, it's got some things that are just a little different, which I really like. And just the relationship that I have with our athletic director, David Saylor, was important to me, man. I trusted him. I think we were on the same page before I took the job, and I really appreciated him giving me the opportunity here.
It's easy for everyone to say that they're bought into things when you personally, being the guy who's in charge, knowing it's going to take time. But we see it in sports all the time. Like I don't even really cover the NBA or watch that much of the NBA, but you hear about these teams that want to, build through the draft. And then you get to year 2, year 3 of losing. And all of a sudden, the owner or whomever is like, nope, got to win now. Trade all the draft picks. And it doesn't work out. Like, I don't know if it's like I don't even know really what the question is, but I just think it's easy for everybody. And, I would include you, but I would include more administrators, fans, boosters, whomever is invested in the program to say on day one, yeah, we know it's going to take time, but to actually see it through, I think that's the cool part. I just think so many times in sports, there's this notion of we know it's going to take time. And then when you're in the process, somebody somewhere wants to cut a corner, and it doesn't seem like that's happened here.
Yeah, I think to your point, I think organizations do it throughout the entire world, right? We all want results yesterday,
Sure.
but that's not how things are done. If you're going to do things the right way, to your point of not cutting corners, and super appreciative of the board and President Crawford and David Saylor here of being patient with me, sticking with me. Because year 1, we weren't very good, Aaron. I mean, I don't know how many games we won, but it wasn't many. And then year 2, we were better. Year 3, we were better. And even for me, it tested me because it was, year 1, it was hard. It's a hard year. I've never had a losing season in my entire life.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, man, you're getting your teeth kicked in. And I kept this quote with me in my pocket a lot, in my wallet, and I have it above my desk as well at home. It's be obsessed with trajectory and not the result. And that is so hard to do, though, when you're not getting the results that you want, to your point of what you said earlier. And I think it's just, but are you getting better? Like as an individual, am I becoming a better coach? Are our players becoming better? Is our culture getting better? Right? As long as we're doing those things and pouring into those things, the results would take care of themselves.
Couple more, we'll let you out of here. First of all, for people who maybe haven't watched your team as much or are going to be watching more in these coming weeks, 92, I believe, points per game, 40% from 3. You guys are a fun watch. That's all. I don't even know if it's a question or a statement, but it's a fun watch. Is that always how you've always wanted to play and how the plan was all along?
Yeah, we've recruited a lot of highly skilled, versatile, high IQ guys, right? And we play really fast. We have a ton of space on the floor because of our shooting. We got bigs that can shoot. Our 4s and 5s can shoot the ball very, very well. And our 4s and 5s can really pass and can make decisions with the ball. And I think you look at where the game's kind of heading, or where it's been heading the last 5 years, it's a race for how much space you can get on the floor, right? It used to be like in the 1990s, you'd be 3 out, 2 in, you'd have a big on each block, and then it went to kind of 4 out, 1 in, and now it's more to 5 out. And that's what we have. We have 5 guys that can make decisions and all shoot the ball. And if you put them in, and I've told our guys, like we run some set plays on dead ball situations, out of a timeout or sideline out or baseline out, but otherwise we're playing what we call flow, right? We do a lot of triggers, and I just ask our guys, and our guys do this. We just want to get the go-to guy for us is going to be the open guy, right? We have 7 guys who scored over 20 points in a game this year, right? We have great balance. And I think that makes us hard to prepare for, but our connectivity, our ball movement, and our player movement is elite. And I think that carries over to defense too. We're a very connected team on that end as well.
All right, so let's get to some of the tough ones here. You're 27-0 going into Eastern Michigan on Tuesday. So one thing I always say on this show, I'm not a bracketologist. It's this whole other world of listen, I wasn't good at math in elementary school. I'm not good at math now. I don't want to look at spreadsheets, whatever. I find it preposterous that there's even a debate about your team and where they would rank in a field of 68. But there is conversations about what would happen if you take this loss here or that. What do you say to, and it's not the bracketology people. I'm not criticizing Joe Lunardi. Let the record show he's great at what he does. But like, it's just preposterous to me. And I don't know if you give it any thought or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's talk of, what happens if you lose here or there, what it means for your seeding or an at-large bid or whatever. What do you say to that whole conversation?
Yeah, it's funny as I've talked to our guys, it's you just want to address the elephant in the room with even our players, right? And because they see all the stuff on social media and what's being said out there. We control the controllables, right? And that's having a great practice, making sure our preparation creates our separation, and we control our own destiny. That's the beauty of this thing. We control each day and we control each game. And then we also have an ability to get an automatic qualifier if we win the MAC tournament in Cleveland. I do think, listen, we have a really good team. I think all the metrics and numbers are going to be automatically slanted more towards the P5, P6.
Of course.
They just are. That's the reality of it. And unfortunately, we didn't have the ability to play a P5 or P6 team in our non-conference. We couldn't get anybody to play us. And so it's kind of like you can only play who's willing to play you. We didn't get an ability to have that, get an opportunity to have that. We didn't have that opportunity in non-conference. So I like our team a lot. I think we're really, really good. We're extremely confident in what we do. I think we got great players. But again, the good thing for us is we control our own destiny. And I don't really deal in a lot of hypotheticals. If, this happened, that's all that. Like, listen, let's take control of today. What are we doing today to make sure that we get the results that we want?
I think for people like myself who cover the sport, around this sport 365 days a year, I understand, and most of the media, I think, to their credit, understands how hard it is for a school like you guys to schedule. Can you explain, like as briefly as you can, because you're a busy man, and I appreciate you taking this time. How does how many schools said no? You don't have to name names, but is there a crazy story of you agree? Because I've heard of even that, like you've agreed to it, you've signed the paperwork, and then boom, you add this transfer or you do this, and all of a sudden the school I know of one school that like middle of June, it was just like the contracts were signed and they're like, well, you did this and we're not playing you anymore. And so I don't know what you can and cannot share. I mean, if you want to share something crazy, by all means, but go ahead.
No, scheduling's hard. It's difficult. I mean, it's probably the most difficult thing right now in our business, if I'm being honest. And because scheduling is done later than it's ever been done, because everybody wants to see who's getting who in the portal or who's leaving your school. And it's very difficult. Listen, we tried, I'm going to say every freaking P5, P6. I mean, we got all no's. I had one school that said they would do it, then they kind of backed out. They didn't, and listen, I get it from their stance too. Like I was at Xavier. So it's like with the way the net works, they want you to play quad 1s and quad 4 games. You're supposed to stay away from a quad 2 or a quad 3 game. And that's the range that we're in. So I totally get it from their stance and their viewpoint of why we didn't get those opportunities, but it makes it hard. And it's like, we're going to get punished for something that we can't control. That kind of seems unfair to me. Listen, we've won good games on the road. We've played a lot of road games, true road games, neutral sites. We've done everything we can. I think our scheduling will be easier moving forward, Aaron, because we're going to play 22 league games next year instead of 18, which will help. We got 2 Sun Belt games that are done for us. And, listen, I think we're going to improve our budget just for neutral site game opportunities. Because I think that's where we got to be able to find our games. But you got to pay to be in those games now. You got to pay $40,000 to play in the Pistons arena or in or Chicago where the Bulls play or whatever. And the good thing is our administration's really, really trying to support us and give us the resources that we need.
Very good. The only thing I'll let you go on, Eastern Michigan on Tuesday night. Is there a big picture, small picture, anything else, somebody that's kind of seen your team in the rankings or kind of knows a little bit about your story that you want them to know about the Miami Redhawks, besides the fact that the university is like Disneyland, which I learned so far today? Anything else you want people to know just about your team, about what you guys are doing? Because it's an awesome story, and I'll forget to say it at the end. So myself and everybody who eventually listens to this is incredibly grateful for your time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, thank you.
I think, our guys have a massive chip on their shoulder. We still have a lot to prove, a lot. And it started all last year at the end of the MAC tournament. We lost in the championship game to Akron. We led for 39 minutes and 56 seconds and lost a heartbreaker. And we've used the hashtag a lot, social media wise, unfinished business. And I thought that propelled us into having an incredible spring, incredible summer, great fall. I knew we had a chance to be elite because of the young men that we have. We have incredible human beings in our locker room. Just player led, the player leadership's incredible. It's a blast, man. I think if people knew our guys, they'd be behind our guys even more and be fans of them if you do them on a personal level.
Travis Steele, Miami of Ohio Redhawks. They play Tuesday night to go to, hopefully, knock on wood, don't want to jinx anything, 28-0 and 21st in the country, highest ranking since 1978. That's all I really got. So Travis Steele, thank you for the time. We're all going to be following. We're all going to be watching. You got to send the tournament chair my way to, for me to straighten him out a little bit. You just, you send him my way. I'll straighten him out. But we appreciate the time, and hopefully we do this again soon, maybe before the tournament, during the